Hello everyone, this is a video about an interesting Super Mario Bros. Speedrunning category called 10 lives. As the name suggests, the goal in this category is getting to 10 lives as fast as possible. For this, we can make use of the infinite 1-up trick in 3-1. In this video, I will show that this game behaves in a weird way during this infinite 1-up trick, and understanding what's going on will help retime runs accurately. So let's start by taking a closer look at the infinite 1-up trick. So let's go back a little, and here, while Mario is moving downwards, he kicks the shell on this frame to the right and keeps moving downwards. Exactly 4 frames later, Mario stops the shell and starts moving upwards again. This repeats until we get to 10 lives. And then timing for this category ends. But on which frame do we actually acquire the 10th life? So to find the answer, let's take a closer look at Mario's interaction with the shell. So let's go to this point right here. So kicking the shell obviously gives us 500 points, and then 4 frames later stopping the shell gives another 200 points. That's at least what it seems, but if we actually look at the score at the top left, we find out that's actually not the case. So let us go back. The score is 121,390, and if we now proceed, we see that the score doesn't change. Only now we get 200 points, but we never got the 500 points from kicking the shell. So what happened to the 500 points? So first of all, it is striking that also the 200 points are added 5 frames after Mario actually stopped the shell. So right here, you see the 200 on the screen, the text, but now we have to wait for another 5 frames, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, before it's added to the score on screen. So the same happens when we go back to the 500, right here. When we kick the shell and we see the 500 on the screen, now the score again would update 5 frames later. But now if we go 5 frames, or proceed by 4 frames, 1, 2, 3, 4, there's another interaction with the shell. We stop the shell, and it seems like this new interaction with the shell somehow overrides the previous interaction, and the 500 points are never added to the score. So to test if this is actually true, what we can do is we can try to press left so that we kick the shell here, but not stop it. And now you saw already, indeed, the 500 is added to the score. So it seems that the second interaction, the stopping of the shell, makes it so that the 500 points never get added to the score. So how does this all matter for retiming speedruns? Well, first of all, the number of points increase with every jump, as we can see here, and at some points we start to get 1-ups. And again, there are basically, again, 2 interactions that give us 1-ups, the kicking of the shell and the stopping. But again, only stopping the shell adds 1 to the number of lives that we have. To check whether this is really true, we can also take a look at RAM. So here let's bring up the RAM watch. So the first value here is the number of lives. It's actually one less than the number of lives. So if we go back to the beginning, here, of course we start with 3 lives, so the corresponding value in RAM is 2. And the other values here are the digits of the score. And now we can check what's going on. So let me go back here. This is the frame where we stop the shell and the 200 appears on the screen. And now 4 frames later, the value in RAM changes, and then it takes another frame for the score on the screen to update as well. And now if we proceed, first of all, we see something interesting here. At this point, kicking the shell should give us a 1-up, but 4 frames later, we stop the shell and we don't get the 1-up, but we only get the 5,000 points. So on every step during the infinite 1-up trick, we only get the score or the 1-ups associated with the stopping of the shell. And here we also get, this is the first time we actually get a 1-up, because it also shows 1-up when we stop the shell. And again, let's go back. Here we stop the shell and 4 frames later, 1, 2, 3, 4, the corresponding value in RAM updates. So in this way we can count the number of lives, and it's pretty straightforward until we get to the point where we get to the 10th life, which is right here. So let's go here. So the value is 8, which means we have 9 lives right now. And again, when we stop the shell, which is on this frame, and now we have to wait for another 4 frames, 1, 2, 3, 4, until the value in RAM updates. And so we can use this frame to end the timing for the 10 lives speedrun. That would be my choice of how sensible retiming should work. I think that's the moment where the timing should end. And the way we could retime runs is by looking at the text on the screen here. So when we kick the shell, the 1-up text appears and it's moving upwards on the next frames, and at some point it moves down. And the reason for that is that just a new 1-up text appears because we interact with the shell again. We stop the shell, and now, so this is the moment when Mario interacts with the shell, and now we have to add 4 more frames until the value in RAM updates. And so in order to retime runs, we can look at the moment where this 1-up text moves down, and then we add 4 more frames. And I think this is the most reasonable way to retime runs. And by the way, these findings lead also to a very interesting new speedrun strat in this category, because what we can do is start to press left here, and what this does is that Mario kicks the shell, but he never stops it. So stopping the shell doesn't override basically the 1-up of the previous interaction for the kicking of the shell, and in this way we indeed receive another life. And this happens, of course, 4 frames earlier. So here we cheat the shell on this frame, and now 4 frames later we already get the 1-up. While when we don't press left, when we cheat the shell and wait for 4 frames, we stop the shell and we don't get the 1-up, but we have to wait for another 4 frames. So pressing left at the right moment will actually be a little bit faster for speedruns. I'm not sure if people will now try to go for it, as it is a very risky strategy, because if we press left too early, we don't cheat the shell and we never acquire the 10th life at all. So I think these are very interesting findings. I hope you also enjoyed watching this video. Thanks everyone for watching.